Yo, greetings and salutations, YouTube. In this video, I want to be discussing my experience 365 days plus without alcohol. To be exact, it's probably closer to 450 days at this point. It's not like I said I'm going to stop alcohol for 365 days and see. I did it as part of a vow. I just didn't want to drink alcohol for various reasons. I'm just going to be discussing some of the benefits and some of the reasons why I've chosen not to consume alcohol. And yeah, so in general, I would say there's certainly more benefits than cons. Alcohol, for me and for a lot of people, opens the doorway to sin. So opens the doorway to gluttony, opens the doorway to fornication, opens the doorway to sexual immorality. It opens the doorway to so many things that are not in alignment with my morals and what I want to do at this stage of my life. So I started drinking maybe at 17, and then I went to college, I went to university, and as a lot of you know, it's just a drinking fest, it's a social fest, and I was well in that mix. Like, there was a particular night, I remember I must have been about 18, 19, and I drank alcohol, and I was in a club, and I made out with 6 different women in one night, and don't remember any of it. It just opens that doorway, it opens that path. You end up having sex with people who maybe you don't really want to have sex with. You end up having a lot of one-night stands and things like that. So that's certainly one of the reasons that I didn't like it. And after I graduated, and then I started traveling the world and started doing these things, like if I was to consume alcohol, then all of a sudden I'm hunting for sexual opportunities. I'm out at 2 a.m., I'm doing all of these things, I'm hunting, I'm looking around. And from a spiritual perspective, that can harm you. And of course, unbeknownst to me at that time, when I was fornicating and consuming alcohol, I didn't know the sort of spiritual effects and how that could affect me as a man. Because yes, it affects women more, but it certainly can still have effects as a man that takes some time to get rid of. So yeah, it can lead me to a bad situation. And in general, with all drugs and alcohol, me personally, I don't consume any drugs and alcohol at this stage of my life. If you would do something that you wouldn't do in a sober state, I would stay away from it. Because if you take something, all of a sudden you're doing something you wouldn't do in a sober state, then more bad things are likely to happen. So that reminds me, like when I used to consume certain drugs and things like that, then I'd be like, the moment you do that, you're going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, because in a sober state you wouldn't be there. So, and that's how I've had a lot of negative supernatural experiences. Of course, living in different continents, being a foreigner in different continents and things like that. So yeah, definitely opens the doorway to sin. And yeah, that's one of the reasons that I'm not in it. So right now, since I don't drink alcohol, like for the last year, or for the last 450 days, as I said, I don't think I've stepped foot in a club. Like, what am I doing there? Like, for me, obviously some people be like, oh, you can go to the club and not drink and have a good time. It's like, not really. Not everybody isn't drinking. Like, everybody's doing this. Not for me. That doesn't work for me. It's not a place that I frequent anymore. It's not like and the types of people that are there are people that are drinking too, people that are interested in opening the doorway to sin, essentially. That's what it is. So from a spiritual perspective, it's kept me more grounded. It's kept me more focused on honorable code of conduct, and more focused on righteousness. So I haven't stepped foot in a club, I don't step in bars, I don't do all of that, I save a lot of money obviously because I don't do those things. And another thing, like I remember, like every time I used to drink, you finish your night at the club or whatever it is, and all of a sudden you're craving food. And at the time where I was craving like kebabs and chips and all these greasy foods that would help your stomach. It just leaves you super dehydrated, man. And yeah, let's talk about the hangover now. I would wake up with a hangover. Me personally, as somebody who's executing and performing every day, I need to be on 100 every single day. So I need to be on 100. And obviously alcohol is a liquid courage. You're going to be exerting extra energy. You're not going to be as adept at controlling your energy whilst under the influence. Your inhibitions are reduced. You're more free, you're more flowing, you're more talkative a lot of the time. It's going to bring you up here, and the next day you're going to be on like 40. So I don't want to use anything that's going to make me feel 160, 180, and then bring me down, crashing down, because everything's about balance. Everything, it's a universal law, the law of balance. So anything that brings you up must come down. So I would rather just be solid throughout. That's just my personal preference. I don't want to wake up like when I used to drink like super hard. I used to get negative effects on my health. I would start getting there was this thing called yellow nails, and then I'll start seeing yellow on my nails. I was super dehydrated. wake up, the whole next day I'd be written off. Obviously, as a student, you can get away with that. I'd just be lying in bed, order a pizza, everything from my house, just chilling, lying down in bed. I probably had a girlfriend, have sex with her. It just leads you to those lower vibrational things, focused on those lower vibrational things. And obviously as a grown man now, where I need to work and perform every day, I can't afford to have a day off. Like, I can't afford to be lying around in bed when it was something in my control. Like, the way I see it, even if you don't have a child, you should behave as if like you have a child. You can't, like, you need to be able to run. Like, let's say your daughter was in an accident, you need to run and pick her up. You need to be able to perform. You need to be like, just pretend, if your child was, pretend as a 3-year-old child to provide for, and that will help mature your mindset. Because even if you're young and you want to sort of increase and enhance your energy, again, I'm speaking specifically for men. In order to mature your masculine energy, that's something that I would suggest for younger men out there. So alcohol opens the doorway to sin, has a negative effect on your health, and that for me is the most important thing. That's because I prioritize health. Again, I prioritize health and my energy, and my energy is always going to be higher. That reminds me of, like, there was a time I took Molly, ecstasy, I can't even remember what it was, man. I was just super experimental with all of these drugs. I was like, I've got to try it, I've got to see how it feels. And I couldn't believe it. The first time I took it, I couldn't believe how high it made me feel. Like, let's say, like, from an ego perspective, like, it took me all the way up here. And once you have an understanding of drugs and alcohol, you realize it took me all the way up here. And I put it up here because you can't see it. And I realized, shit, I've got to nip this in the bud quickly. Because when people take those drugs, they usually take it out and party, do all of this, and then the crash or the come down, I believe they call it, is just so low. Like, you'll feel so low. You could be depressed for days. I'm sure there's people with experience of being depressed for weeks. So with my knowledge at that time, and luckily I was still quite adept from a spiritual perspective at that point, I had to come down to nature, and I just calm down. I don't know if there's much people who take those kind of hard drugs and just focus on meditation and spirituality, because I realized I need to establish balance now, otherwise tomorrow. And the come down wasn't that bad because of my actions. But there have been other times where I've taken those certain drugs or different kinds of drugs and partied, run around on the streets, and the come down was crazy. Everything's about balance. I don't have there been cravings for alcohol. Not really. Maybe I'll be at someone's house. There was a particular instance I remember. I wasn't drinking. I was at someone's house and they said, "Hey, would you like a cocktail, a fresh homemade cocktail?" And I was like, "Ooh." And that's about when I started the journey. But temptations will come no matter what endeavor you choose. So, like, when you're fasting, when I'm fasting, if I'm doing like an extended fast, which I don't do much of anymore, but if I'm doing an extended fast, like 24 hours plus, I would always, like, if I open up the phone, there'll always be, maybe I'll be offered free food. Like, it's part of the journey. A few times, and obviously there's, like, if I drink, like, if I was to drink now, I know I'm probably going to want to end up in some bar, end up talking to some people that I probably have not much in common with. And yeah, there's an argument that some situations or some experiences that I had, I might not have had them had I not been drinking, that were, for all intents and purposes, positive experiences I might not have had if I had not been drinking. So there is that argument, or people that I met that if I had, like, I wouldn't be drinking, but was I supposed to meet those people, is my counter to that argument. Was I supposed to meet those people? Because those people are people who are, again, no judgment, but people who are focused on that, like, drinking and all of these things. So if that's not what you want for your life, those are not the people you should be surrounding yourself with. Like, if you try and stay away from sin, it is foolish of you to hang with sinners, if that makes sense. And that's a lot of the time for an aesthetic. I don't really like to use that word, but I'm really focused on discipline and righteousness and righteous actions. There's not many people that I hang around with because I'm not interested in the things that people of the world are interested in. That's just my perspective on 300 a year without alcohol. I don't wish to consume alcohol. I do have vodka in a suitcase in the other room, but there's nothing in me that wants to consume it. It's just been like, my health has improved. I'm healthy. I'm strong. Kila siku. That's a message.